A fox knows many things, but a hedgehog knows one important thing.
Welcome to the Morning Hedgehog podcast, where we explore the business ideas that shape your success. Here are your hosts, Ira Gardner and Glynns Thomas.
Welcome back to the Morning Hedgehog. I'm Ira Gardner, and we're with my co-host Glynns Thomas. And Glynns, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about how important it is to make it easy for people to purchase from you and how make it easy for people to take whatever the next step is with you and to do business with you, and how important that is in order for your business success.
So it sounds like the buyer's journey, if you will.
Yeah, in this one, I don't really go into the buyer's journey, but it is about at every step that you're working with somebody, it's just super important to make it easy. And we don't realize sometimes how we aren't making it as easy as we could. Nice.
Well, I can't wait to see what you've cooked up for us today. So let's take a look.
Okay, so let me share my screen here. So again, this is all about how to make it really easy for your customers to work with you. I know that probably sounds like a no-brainer, but I see many businesses are not doing this as well as they could be, and it is holding them back in terms of getting more sales. I also know how easy it is to miss things because we've looked at our website and our processes so many times that it looks easy to us, and it's really hard to have that outside perspective. So I think you could use this talk to sort of form a checklist of things you might have missed or things that you could improve upon, because there's always something that we can improve upon. But before I want to get into the slides, I want to kind of remind ourselves how our consumer world is these days, because never before has it been so easy to find multiple choices for whatever it is that you want to purchase. It's never been so easy to get information and see reviews and see comparison charts so we can choose our favorite and then make the purchase. And all of this can be done online for so many products and services. So although we're not necessarily a pure online business, for most of us, we're more of a luxury business, and it's so important to have that one-on-one contact. Before they're willing to make that one-on-one contact, they're doing a lot of research online. So if you're not making it easy for people to find you, to understand what you're offering, and how to take the next step, then you're losing some of those prospects who are going to go elsewhere. So your goal really is to make sure that the path for your prospects to buy from you isn't like a winding path in the forest with many forks in the road where they kind of have to figure out where they're going to go next. You want to make it so easy that it's more like a slide. They just practically slide right into it. Studies have shown that every time somebody hesitates because they're not sure what to do next, or they're not compelled enough to take the next step, you will see a drop-off in your sales funnel. So let's talk about how we can make it super easy. Oh, I figured out how to make the slides go without any problems this time.
Nice.
So first of all, if they go searching for you online, you want to make sure that you're easy to find. So for example, say they heard about you from somebody else. Someone might say to a friend, "Oh, Ira Gardner does the most incredible fine art photography. You should check him out. He's right here in Spokane." That friend later gets on their phone and does a search for a fine art photographer in Spokane, because maybe they've already forgotten your name. But so does your website show up on the first page of a search result? I can think of lots of times where somebody has made a recommendation to me, and then later I thought, oh, I need to go look that up. I said I was going to look it up, and I've forgotten some of the key information. And I really struggle to be able to find who that business is. I'm sure a lot of you have been in a similar situation, so you know what I'm talking about. We can't control every situation, but I mean, what a shame to be able to lose out on something if that was to occur. So working on optimizing your website for search engine optimization, because we know word of mouth marketing is some of the best ways to get new business. So we tend to think of SEO as something we use to find new prospects, but one of my biggest arguments for using it is for word of mouth. And I put a link here for Academy Yoast, and they're known for doing a lot of online SEO and other sorts of things. And right now, they're offering their beginning SEO class for free.
Oh, nice.
So you can go there and sign up for that.
Do you, does your website use a plugin from Yoast for search engine optimization?
No, I've done it all myself.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have a WordPress site, which I have a couple different sites, and we'll talk about websites a little bit later. Yoast actually has a plugin that will analyze everything you've posted on your site for search engine optimization. And it makes sure you don't forget all the little steps that you need to do. So Yoast is just a great resource for search engine optimization.
Oh, great. Okay. Yes, I've known about them for a while. I've not taken their classes, but I did start to take this beginning one just to kind of get a feel for what they're doing. And they start off really basic, which is great for those beginners. And I also, as we bring this up, I realize that it is really technical.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us photographers are not so technical, and it may not be your most favorite thing to do and want to just pass it on and hire someone to do it. But I do believe it's really important to at least understand the basics, because SEO, it's an art and a science to it. And a lot of times when you hire somebody, you're hiring somebody who understands the technical aspect of it. But the art behind it is better understanding your audience and knowing what keywords you want to be using. And they might just use a program that they plug in one word and it gives a bunch of keywords, and then they'll just do the technical stuff to optimize you for those keywords. But if you understand how this all works and how your consumers think and what they're searching for, you're in a better position to at least direct somebody that you hire if that's the path you want to go. But if you want to do it yourself, it's absolutely something you can figure out. Once you get over that learning curve hurdle of all those technical jargon words, you will find it's actually not that difficult to do.
Well, what I'm hearing is a couple of things. One, and this kind of goes back to the franchise boutique business model, is as a business owner, we need to build the successful strategies for SEO ourselves before we hand it off to somebody else. We got to figure out what works so that we can be assured of when we hire somebody to take over, we're giving them instruction of what it is that we want to do to be authentic to our brand. And then the second thing I'm thinking about is you mentioned keywords and paying attention to what keywords are appropriate. And that starts making me think about, that starts with when we ingest our photos into Lightroom or whatever cataloging system we use, and we actually embed the metadata that's going to have some of those keywords, so that when people do a search, they might find us via images that then lead them to our website.
That's a great point. Yes. I was thinking of it merely on your website, but I do change the file name of all my images before I post them on my website, and they're all part of what it is that I do. We can talk about SEO. I think that would fill up several episodes to just get in on the basics of on-site SEO. But I think since most of us are local businesses, the basics for on-site SEO is enough to get you on the first page of a search result.
Nice.
You don't necessarily need to get into all the advanced topics. So also in terms of the idea of, are you easy to find? I think it's also important to figure out where you can find your customers online, where your customers are hanging out online, and where they're hanging out in your community. So being where they are makes you easier to find. So that might be certain social media platforms, if you're a B2B photographer, business to business, chamber listings, industry organizations. If you're a B2C, which is business to consumer business, that's going to be social organizations, meetup groups, sports clubs, your local mall, certain newspapers. The list gets really long. So as you better understand your target audience and as you better understand where they are, being where you are makes it easier for them to find you. And it also makes it easier for them to refer you. For example, if you have a business Facebook page, because a lot of your customers tend to be on Facebook, if they want to recommend you, they're more apt to look for you on Facebook than they are going to look for your website. And Facebook is going to prize or they prefer people to provide links within Facebook. So you're going to be seeing more. But regardless, your customer, let's say somebody's asking for a photographer, chances are they're probably going to look for your Facebook page if that request came through Facebook, and they will provide a link to your Facebook page. So because you're where they are, it's easier for them to refer you.
Well, and the things like the Facebook page becomes an important engagement tool, because I get people that actually message me through my Facebook page.
Yes.
And because they have a familiarity of instant, I can instant message. Or so being able to make sure your Facebook page has all your hours of operation, when you're available, and be able to communicate with your customers. I look at social media as a place for engagement with my customers.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just trying, this talk is just about being able to be where they are, but yes, absolutely. Social media has so many different aspects. But you're reminding me, so when people will message me, and that sort of drives me nuts because I'm getting messages from so many different platforms. And as a solopreneur, I only have so much bandwidth. So again, everything we talk about and what you read from other places, you kind of have to balance what's right for you. So it's okay if you decide to turn off messaging on some of the platforms, and just make sure that you give them a direction. You can't just turn it off and then not tell them where they can go to contact you. You have to give them some sort of path. Will the path be more of a direct slide if you let them message you through that social media platform? Absolutely. So if you can take on that from multiple places, then absolutely do it. But if you're struggling to stay on top of it and you're not able to, you're not checking them all and you're not able to get back to people in a timely manner, then give them a path of how they can contact you that you can be able to get back to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'm just going to throw in one other thing is you can turn on autoresponders that let them know when they can expect the feedback, or you can turn on autoresponder that says, hey, thanks for reaching out via my social media page. If you fill out this form on my website, you'll get a link to the next step in the process, so to speak. So that you got some strategies that you can work on there.
That's a great idea. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Whoop. So the next idea I want to talk about here is there enough information in order to make it easy for your customers? So when they find you, is there enough information so that they can take the next step? And according to Smart Insights, that does a lot of surveys and testing, of customers who abandon an online cart, 42% of them did so because they didn't feel like they had enough information to make that purchase. Wow. Now, I know many of us in photography have a different process where we might have an in-person consultation or something similar, but I still think this is an important concept to understand. Make sure that you are providing enough information and the right information for them to want to call you. And if you've done your job well, usually at this point, the heavy lifting's been done. They just need to hear your friendly and competent voice on the other side just to confirm that you're real. And then they're probably going to be ready to take the next step. At the same time, you want to make sure you don't give too much information. I see this sometimes too, where you get to a website and it's just long blocks of text. And too many different links all over a website, too many different places to get lost. And with too much information, your prospects are going to get bored, they're going to get overwhelmed, or they might even become confused. So you really need to find a good balance. The shorter, the better, but you do need to give the right information.
Well, I'm thinking about this too, is because this is something I have always struggled with. I want to give all the information,
yes.
and there's this concept of data chunking, and in graphic design, we want to have lots of white space around the copy so that people can feel like they're getting little bits and pieces. And one of the things about websites I've been starting to really focus on is this idea of, okay, I give you a little bit, do you want more? And let the user decide give them a button or something that says to read more or for the next step. And I was on a website just last week that did a really nice job where they just gave me an image and then a little tagline, and to find out more what next steps, click on the button. And it was just, I ended up going through about 5 different steps, but they were such easy, and I just was like going through it. And I was thinking about the fact that, like, on a platform like YouTube, it's probably better to break an hour video into 10 6-minute segments because people feel a little more sense of control on getting little bites of information as opposed to getting it all at once, like a long documentary film, so to speak.
Right. That's a great idea. We're all different in terms of how we communicate. And I too am someone who is more apt to want to give more than I realize my prospects might want. So another way to think of this, first of all, in the approach that you're giving, I would recommend that in that paragraph that is provided before you get to the want to read more link, mm-hmm. is what most people are going to need so that they can scan those various paragraphs and still be able to make a decision. And for those who are researchers who want to know as much as they can beforehand, can go deeper, but there's still those consumers who are just don't want to. They do not like to go into it. So if you just give them enough, so what I was going to say before is think of it in terms of just giving enough information so they can take whatever the immediate next step is. The immediate next step from your website usually isn't, okay, I'm ready to buy an entire wall gallery of and framed images for the grandparents. Like, they're not going to go from, I've never heard about you, to I want to spend tens of thousands of dollars with you necessarily. Mm-hmm. So usually from your website, it's going to be something like, call us for a consultation, or, make an appointment for a consultation, or whatever it is your steps and processes. So your website should primarily focus on giving enough information for them to take that immediate next step, not all the way to the end.
Right, right.
That's how you keep it really succinct, which will encourage more calls, more online deposits, if you keep it succinct and just focused on that immediate next step versus providing everything.
Right, right. And so what's interesting about this is you can look at, there's a style, journalistic style of writing called the inverted pyramid.
Yes.
And the idea, you give the most important information first and save the details for later. And really the inverted pyramid aligns itself beautifully with the sales funnel of just hit the key points first and tell me what to do next. Not what to do all the way to the end, but just tell me what's next.
When I went into college, I originally went in for a journalism degree, and that's what we were taught in order to write newspaper articles. And so that inverted pyramid starts with a hook. It's just something really amazing that gets them interested. Then you provide that key, just very key bits. And then knowing that a lot of people aren't going to read past the first few paragraphs. So you have to give enough in that very beginning. And anybody who wants to keep on reading can. But knowing that a lot of people just read the first few paragraphs, you've got to put something really exciting and interesting and the key information, in our case, since we're selling, for them to want to take whatever that next step is. So, okay, in a similar vein of what we're talking about, we don't want to give them too many options. This can lead to indecision before they want to take that next step. And again, any hesitation, they might drop off. Also, if there's too many choices, it can also lead to people questioning if they made the right decision after they're done with you. And we don't want them feeling that way at all. There was an interesting study by Columbia University, and I think they were at a farmer's market, and they presented a choice of 6 exotic jams or 24 exotic jams. And when they presented the 24 flavors of those jams, sales dropped by 50%.
Wow. Wow.
So just too many choices just sort of make people hesitate too long while they're thinking through it. And that's just enough for them to sort of give up. In many industries, and this is true for photography also, usually 3 choices is what makes sense. You can have all sorts of customization within that, but how you initially package it to them, giving them 3 choices is usually a really good way to go.
Nice.
So I'm assuming that many of you are thinking now, well, what key information do I need to be giving them? So I'm just going to give a quick list. This is not necessarily everything, and it might be more than you need to, so you make your decision. But I think a smart approach is to clearly state your core services. For those of us who are doing different types of photography genres, you need to make it really clear what those different ones are. Don't let them get muddled together. You need to give a promise. What will they get from you that is important to them? It's not a bad idea to say how you are different from your competitors and why they would want that. Providing a really simple overview of your process, not giving them everything they need to know at this point, and a call to action for the immediate next step. Maybe some pricing information, at least enough so people can self-qualify. What areas you serve. I don't know how many times I'm looking for something, I find a website, I get to it, and the first thing I start looking is, are they even in my area?
Oh, interesting. That's a good point. Yeah.
Sometimes because it's the World Wide Web, and I might get a website so that's where I'm kind of looking first. Are you actually in my area?
That's actually why I still have an LA cell phone number. I used to do a lot of work down LA, and I needed to have a local number, and way before that, we had what were called market expansions lines, where I could have a phone number in whatever community that I wanted to have be part of my geographic territory of providing services. And so I used to do business in kind of the triangle of Seattle, Portland, Boise, and Spokane. And I made sure that people knew I had availability within each of those communities.
Absolutely. We're all looking for, because when you're flooded with choice, we're all looking for some commonality. So if you're in the particular area that somebody happens to live or work in, that actually makes a difference. If somebody's looking for, say, a headshot photographer, and while I say I serve the greater Sacramento area, the majority of the individuals I get are in my town, and they get really excited. Oh, but you're right here in my town. So that lends some additional interest to them. People appreciate that. So that your local area is part of your differentiation. What else? Something about you and your business is not a bad idea. How to contact you. Another thing that I see a lot of businesses do is they hide their contact information on their contact page. I'm exaggerating here. Certainly you can see it in the navigation menu. There's a link saying contact us. You can click on that and then contact that person. But again, anytime there's an additional click they have to do to get the information they want, that is a barrier. So I encourage people, always put your contact information on every single page. Put it in the most prominent position, which is usually the top right-hand corner, because that's a primary place that your eye goes to on a website. There are, sometimes if I'm calling, I want to call my bank, and I need to find the phone number, and I go to the website, and if I have to click, where is that phone number? I just want to call them. That drives me nuts. A lot of times people, they've looked at your website multiple times, they've been considering you and the competition, and then they're ready to contact you, and they get to your website. It's all they want to do. They just want to call you. Put that phone number, put that email address, however you want to be contacted, right up there.
Thank you for listening to the Morning Hedgehog podcast. For show notes or to submit a question or comment, please visit www.themorninghedgehog.com. Thank you for listening to the Morning Hedgehog podcast. If you would like to submit a question or comment about today's show, please visit us at www.themorninghedgehog.com.